Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated to bringing leaders and entrepreneurs strategies, tips, and resources to overcome their obstacles, to build resilience, and achieve success. Hey, if this is your first time listening or you've been part of our community for a while, thank you for tuning in today. Before I introduce you to my guest today, I want to make sure that you're aware of a new resource to help you to be resilient. It's our private Facebook community called Leadership with Purpose. So you can either search in groups in Facebook and search Leadership with Purpose. And I'll also make sure that link is in the show notes as well. In our community, I share strategies, tips, and resources so you can step into less stress, greater profit, and experience the work you love. It's also a great place to connect with other like-minded leaders. So I look forward to seeing you in our community. Our sponsor for the show today is Audible. If you love listening to podcasts, I know you're going to love Audible like I do. It's a great way to be able to listen to books that you want to read this year. So if you're not already subscribed to Audible, let me get you a free book and a free 30-day trial. The book that I recommend is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. By simply visiting warrenwandling.com/audible, you can grab your free book and your free 30-day trial to Audible. Again, that's warrenwandling.com/audible. WarrenWandling.com/AUDIBLE. I have a great guest with me today, Peter Schmitz. Peter is the owner of Parallel Business Coaching, which provides mentorship and direction to inspiring side hustlers as we live in the day and age of side hustle, and building something beyond our careers has never been more practical or needed. The challenge is that many young professionals have the ambition to pursue business ownership, but they don't know how, where, and what to start. Peter took a different approach to entrepreneurship, and he has been partnered with entrepreneurs since 19 years of age, receiving mentorship and coaching in the areas of personal finance, career coaching, and entrepreneurship. As a result, he was able to become completely debt-free by 23 years old, developed a career in project management, and built 3 companies in parallel. He looks forward to sharing his story so other young professionals can embody the sense of hope as they look to embark on the journey of personal business ownership. Well, welcome to the show, Peter.
How's it going, Warren?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. It's going well. How about yourself?
It is. It's going great for a Thursday afternoon.
So I'm really looking forward to our conversation within kind of your unique background. As you might be aware of on How to Become an Obstacle Buster podcast, we help leaders and entrepreneurs to overcome their obstacles, build resilience, and achieve success. So really, to start that conversation today, as the owner of PBC, tell us about your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me on the podcast. Excited to, just have some dialogue and hopefully, help some individuals make some connections and move forward as, they take that first step into entrepreneurship. But yeah, as you said, owner of PBC, what that stands for is Parallel Business Coaching. And, within the name of the business, it really goes hand in hand with the, businesses that I've been able to scale out, really in the side hustle fashion. So, still working in a full-time role and then building out my side hustles using my evenings and weekends. But I've been, I'll do a hybrid, about my background, which really plays into, the companies that I've run. My mindset was I just really knew that I wanted to do something above and beyond my career. And so, I really launched, Parallel Business Coaching, alongside while I was in college. And so for me, what that's really spawned into and really, developed into is, number one, I've been able to build out, one side hustle in the e-commerce space, which we use a few different platforms, just generating revenue online. Obviously, e-commerce is a growing industry. Through that, as I've been able to build that out, that's been able to help me get into other arenas. And so now I'm in a space where I do a lot of coaching and training with young professionals on, walking side by side with them, which is one of the reasons it's called parallel, because, run it in parallel of your career, and then, have somebody walking in parallel with you that can help you, actually guide the corporate career while also, getting a first and second side hustle off the ground. And I know as we, get into things today, I'm able to kind of uncover that and some obstacles that we see. And then beyond that, I've also been able to, as another passion project that falls under that umbrella, help a lot of young professionals from a student loan standpoint. And I do a lot of student loan coaching because, it's an area that a lot of young professionals come out into the working world with that really straps them. So through that venture, we've probably been able to save, between $500,000 and $750,000 in student loan interest for individuals through that coaching. So it's opened up the door to a wide array, but they all play into really the focus of helping young professionals who have that entrepreneurial ambition, wanting to do something above and beyond the career, helping them take that first step and really empowering them to do so.
Oh, that's fascinating. I really love the title of your business, Peter, because I love that idea of working parallel, that it's not one or the other, to be able to focus in that career, but also focus strategies of how do you using the hours after that full-time position. How do you use those strategies to be able to leverage your time to create that side hustle? So I love the parallel.
Thank you.
So with interesting, I'm curious with your other passion project, is that another side hustle around helping students with their student loan debt?
Yep, that's a whole nother passion project. Like I said, through one of the aspects of my main side hustle, where coaching individuals to get their first venture off the ground in the e-commerce space. One of the things that I do a lot of is helping individuals with their budgets. And so in just doing so, and myself struggling with student loans coming out of school, and my siblings, that was just a whole nother niche that got developed. And I've just been able to bring a lot of value in that capacity. And I think a lot of folks are just not really sure how to navigate that, or really what their loans look like, and all the different changes that occur once they graduate.
So what is the greatest obstacle your clients encounter?
So, I'll take this from the approach of, the individuals that I work with and that have partnered with to help them get their first, venture off the ground. And that's really what I would deem the clientele. That's really our partners that we work with as we develop our e-commerce, ventures together. And what I see is that the biggest challenge for folks is really understanding, where to start. And so, it's a very simple challenge, but I think for a lot of individuals, it really is an arena and an area of life that they're challenged by. And so I come across a lot of young professionals who have an excitement to do something on the side. And so, their goal is to figure out what that might be, how to get it started. And they end up really spinning their wheels. And what I've seen for a couple of reasons is, number one, they've never played in that game before. They've never actually done anything entrepreneurial. Maybe their classes in college, the school system hasn't prepared them to do so. And so they start, kind of sporadically trying to figure out, where to go, how to get started. And, they follow a flashy trend. I mean, e-commerce obviously is a flashy trend in this day and age. They want to do something in real estate. And so what they end up doing is really spinning their wheels, because they can never put their finger on, how to get started, where to get started. And so, the approach that we've taken is, it was pretty simple for me. I was a big athlete growing up, not in stature, but, played a lot of sports. And, I just realized that growing up, when it came to, hockey and accelerating in the game of hockey, that I always had a coach that was there, that had done something better than me in the sport, that could help see my blind spots. And so what we found is, as we've grown out, our ventures, is that, it's just super important to have somebody, if you've never actually taken the walk through entrepreneurship before, that's been there, done that, and they can really help assist you in that process. And so, for me, one of the biggest, obstacles that I see them is, and where we really come into the picture is when somebody's really in that space of spinning their wheels and trying to figure out how to keep their 9 to 5 and how to do something practically on the side.
Well, that's fascinating. Interesting. Our paths have crossed, because I also played hockey growing up as well. So love the sport.
Yeah.
That's a small world. So within helping your clients then to get clarity around what they're passionate about, to help them with that side hustle, what strategies do you use to really help them get that clarity?
Yeah. So, really it comes down to a series of conversations. And so, when I really enter into the picture with somebody, obviously with the coronavirus and the pandemic going on, a lot of that's done over a Zoom call. And when I, maybe connect with somebody via LinkedIn and it ends up leading to a Zoom conversation, what I do is end up having a little bit of a conversation with somebody over LinkedIn. They end up reaching out to me and I feel like, and they feel like it might be a mutual, beneficial for us to have some dialogue. I'll set up a conversation in order to get to know them better. And so, what I really end up doing is helping somebody, is really leading somebody on a discovery process. And so I think this takes a little bit of, time to develop because I think for a lot of individuals, they've never actually done a discovery process when it comes to starting a venture. And what I mean by that is they, they're excited. They think they have like an idea in mind. They might have a passion project, but they've never had somebody who's been on the other side of things. And not saying that I'm this, world-class entrepreneur, but, I've been in the, been around the, the environment for the last 6 years. So there's a lot of questions and, patterns that I can ask and see and help really guide a conversation for them to discover, where they're looking to go. Is there a certain, project that they're passionate about? And so for me, what that allows me to do is if somebody comes to the table and they're like, this is the app that I want to create, this is exactly what I want to do. Now I might be able to point them and be in certain resources, or be a more of a resource in a passive manner and connect them with individuals. But if somebody where typically what I see is they think they have an idea, we get to talking, their idea isn't super well vetted out, they're pretty flexible. And so I just help lead them on a discovery process of where they're looking to go. And from there, we answer a few questions on an overarching theme. Is entrepreneurship the right play in parallel with the career? Why is somebody doing it? And, just ensuring that they're on the right path.
So what was a key strategy that contributed to your success building your side hustle?
For me, it's been the level of consistency. I launched my first ventures at 19 years of age. And, that I think is a big challenge for a lot of younger individuals is to, identify and individuals of all age groups is figuring out a way to stay consistent. And so I think by, developing good systems in my life and executing on good habits, that's always been something I've been able to fall back on, whether things are going great or things are going, not so great. And so, what I've seen is really challenged myself to, as a human, we feel emotions and really being conscious of not making, big decisions or life altering decisions and emotional highs and emotional lows, and really understanding that, in anything, whether it's a sport, academics, entrepreneurship, consistency in the long haul is going to, really pay off as long as you're, know what to execute on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I love your observation, Peter, around systems and good habits, because it sounds easy, but to be able to have developed that consistency about implementing systems and staying in the focus around good habits is really important. So do you have a strategy in of itself for you to be able to develop good habits and then stay on the path of implementing those?
Yeah, in terms of what I've done, one of my favorite rules, which I actually first applied to, working out. I always, worked out and stayed in shape in high school and throughout college. And then, as I made the transition into the work world, I knew, okay, this is a key pillar in my life. And so I really developed, this mindset that I think I actually saw it on Instagram one time. And the rule was never go more than 3 days without working out. And so I started to implement that in my life from a working out standpoint. And to me, that just made so much sense because it gave me the liberty to fail 2 out of 3 days and not make it there, but it also gave me the ability to go above and beyond. And so as I've taken that, I've now applied it to other, aspects of my life, whether good habits when it comes to entrepreneurship are simple things like reading or, networking and getting around, listening to good podcasts like you've put together to help grow your skill sets, and then doing the dirty work or whatever work is needed for your own company and continuing to, brush up on certain skill sets. So that was the system that I put in place for myself and the mindset that really helped, me around the corner to say, all right, like I really feel like I can commit to no more than 3 days without doing X habit.
Yeah, that's excellent. So what do you think aspiring entrepreneurs, what holds them back from being able to start?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that play into this, and so this could be a 4 hour discussion. But a couple of the big ones that I see is there's an element of fear, and so they might be around a group of individuals, or they might have individuals that talk them out of doing something. So maybe they have a plan in place, and that really gets shot down because they say, oh, stay in your lane, keep doing your thing. And so it depends, number one, on who they're listening to. But honestly, I think the most common one that I see is individuals, and as simple as this sounds, is literally just not knowing. And so, as I look back over my life, as I grew up, and I was identifying what I wanted to do, what I wanted to do when I went to school, what I wanted to do when I go to college, what did I want to do when I graduated, what was the next step. I think people have a very good mindset around that and realize that there's a journey that comes along with that. And so they don't necessarily have the context or the ability developed to realize that you have to apply the same thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so we could probably get into a pretty fascinating conversation regarding Warren, where you started with your entrepreneurial journey, and where that's led you, and all of the twists and turns and changes and pivots you've made. And same thing in my short-lived career over the last 6 years, building out my ventures. And so what I've realized, I think a big mindset that people have to clear is number one, get over fear. And then number two is realize that their first business does not have to be their last. And so, if you're looking, and I'm talking specifically to the side hustle, if somebody, has 5, 10, 15 hours a week, they have to find a vehicle or a venture that can operate within that space. And, it might be a passion project of theirs, it might not be. But if you look at a lot of individuals that, have grown successful companies, if you look at some of the, top level entrepreneurs, it's not like Elon Musk started with SpaceX. There were a lot of things that led him to that. And to me, that was a big mindset shift that I made as I was entering into the entrepreneurial world.
So I'm really then curious, what should an entrepreneur, those that are looking for that side hustle, what should they look for in launching a side hustle?
So there's a few things that go into this. Is number one, the first and foremost question is, what's the barrier to entry, and can they get a ticket to that game? So, once again, if somebody, if we take a situation I run across, in a lot of ways, somebody in their, mid 20s, early 30s, maybe they have some student loan debt, maybe they have, not a ton of capital saved up, and now they have this dream to go into real estate. They're just going to have to, onboard a certain amount of debt to get started in that. So number one is just really understanding what the barrier to entry is, and really knowing where they can start. A second thing is finding individuals, and this is what's been extremely beneficial for me, is finding individuals who you can partner with and get around, so that you can really learn from them. Just like I talked about having a coach in hockey, I think it's one of the best ways that we can really learn when it comes to entrepreneurship. Really beyond that, it becomes, looking at your day to day and what you want to accomplish, because everybody has, specific goals. Everybody has certain things that they want to put together. And so for me, what I just realized is I needed to find something that really was boxed in there. And then also, know what was the income I was looking to create. But more importantly, if somebody's starting a first side hustle, asking themselves, and this is what I ask, everybody I come across, hey, you're looking to start a side hustle. You're looking to start a business of some capacity. There's a certain monetary component you're looking to create, but what are the skill sets that you hope to develop over the next 2 to 5 years through this venture? And I get a lot of blank stares. I get a lot of, I never really thought about that. And so I think that becomes very powerful, because that's the same reason we go to college, is to develop new skill sets. That's the same reason we start a first company, is to develop skill sets that can be, a training ground to take that to the next level, or start a new venture, whatever the journey may lead somebody to.
Yeah, I love that you bring out the aspect of the skill sets, because that's really the launching pad to help somebody to do that side hustle. So when you're working with clients, what strategies do you use to help uncover the skill sets that they need to focus on?
Yeah, and I'll maybe go back a little bit to what I was sharing initially, as we kind of talked about the strategy at the beginning, and for me, I give individuals, I lead them through a conversation and ask them some thought-provoking questions that hopefully that they likely haven't gone through before and really thought of. And so what I really explain to them is, hey, look, this is where I'm at. This is what I've created in my life. And my goal is to help, you uncover certain areas or certain aspects of where you're looking to go. And then I give them some homework, and and I let them know, here's a few resources. Here's a book or two you can check out. Here's, some things to go and research, and I really recommend, because most people haven't done this. It's very simple. And I know, you can probably go on a tangent about this, but, what are your goals? And not just what are your financial goals, because we can get very caught up in that. But if you look at a 360-degree picture of your life, and you look at, what do you want to do from a financial standpoint, a business standpoint, a health standpoint, a relationship standpoint, spiritual standpoint, what it starts to do is create some clarity for individuals about what makes sense. And then as we get to that point, what we can do is now begin to reverse engineer where they're looking to go, potential skill sets that they're going to need to develop, and a potential partnership or potential avenues that make sense for them to really follow.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Peter. So why starting with the who you're following is so important in your side hustle?
Yeah. So there's I think a lot of us have seen a TED Talk. You're probably familiar with Simon Sinek's TED Talk, or Simon Sinek Start With Why.
Right. That's an awesome TED Talk. If any of our listeners have not watched that, that's definitely a clue to go make sure that you watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think because there's a lot of buckets, and I think that's become very popular in our day and age. To now, a lot of individuals have realized that, hey, there should be a deeper purpose for what I'm doing. And so why I start to talk more about the who is I created partnership with some of my coaches over the years. What I really started to see is there was a very big importance to the why and why I'm doing something. There's a very big importance to how we're going to go about building a venture, how you're going to go about doing anything, and then what you're going to do. But what I've seen and what I saw is, if I go back to the coaching example, is that, you can really expedite a lot in your life if you get around individuals and you want to become, fit in the gym. One of the best things we can do is get a personal trainer who's become fit in the gym and that can coach us, that can see our blind spots, and that can become a resource to us. And so the example that I give with a lot of individuals is I lead those discovery calls. Is I say, a lot of times when I talk to 80% of people, they're very hung up on what am I going to do? How am I going to get started? And I just said, let me give you an example. Let's say, and I'll use Elon Musk again. Elon Musk calls you up and he says, hey, Joe, or hey, Warren, I'm going to help you start a venture. I said, typically what I say is one of the last questions you're actually going to ask him is, what are we going to start? Because, if you're working with Elon Musk, that because you know who he is, that it's going to be cool. It's probably going to work out and you're going to learn a lot. And so what I say is, don't completely disregard what you're going to do, but also go out and vet some individuals and find some individuals that make sense to potentially partner with. And so for me, what I've seen is that by partnering with somebody and going to the who am I going to follow in life, that it's been able to, create drastic improvements in those different areas of goals that I talked about. And so I think aligning individuals who are where you want to be in life, or at least on a path to where you want to be, becomes a huge cheat code. I imagine in your life, Warren, you've probably done that in some capacity. I think I've, in listening to some of your past podcasts, there's individuals that you've referenced. So it's just a very powerful thing that I think if somebody grasps at any point in life, but especially when they're young, they can really, really accelerate the growth pattern that they see in any skill set, and especially entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I love that you bring that out, Peter, in reference to finding that coach, or to be able that someone that they can align with, that can impart that knowledge and help them along the way and show them their blind spots. It's really important. I think it's the Jim Rohn quote that is, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. So if you're not making progress, I love that quote, because if you're not making the progress you want to make, listeners, make sure you evaluate the people that you're hanging out with, because you might have to adjust that. Just like Peter just shared, connecting with somebody that's maybe completed that side hustle, or somewhere that can give you some insight to help you grow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what I tell a lot of the individuals that I work with is I give them 2 examples. I say, obviously pre-COVID times, I say, there's so much power in putting yourself in the environment. And if you don't believe me, go stand in a bar and then see how long it takes for you to start having a drink. And then I say, if you want to develop that habit, that's a great way to do it. I don't recommend doing that regularly. Obviously have some fun. But the other one too is, if you want to start working out, all you have to do is put your gym clothes on and go and stand in the gym. at a certain point, you will jump on a treadmill, you'll jump on an elliptical, you'll start lifting a weight because you're just in the environment.
Yeah, I love that analogy. So I'm really curious, why is creating a vision so important for an entrepreneur?
Well, I think it's the common denominator that really drives, that really drives an entrepreneur. And I heard a quote one time that, and I'll paraphrase it, but it's really that the entrepreneur is driven by the vision. And so, I think what it does is it creates a mental map in where you're looking to go. And so when I've studied or gotten around, individuals who've created successful companies, is that they always have an idea of where they're looking to go. They may not know, exactly how they're going to get there. They may still be developing it. But what it does is it creates a culture in which, individuals you're working with, or even you yourself, if it's just you in a side hustle, can buy into and get around. And so what a vision, I think, one of the challenges that I was scared of initially in creating a vision is I said, well, what if I write something down and I don't actually want it? And I think it's silly, but I think it actually holds a lot of people back from creating a life vision, even if they're not an entrepreneur. And so what I would recommend doing is, to anyone listening to this, is if you've not created a life vision, realize that when you do so, and you write something down, that it can evolve and it can change over time. So you could put down, I want to work in this industry, or I want to, I'll just use an example. I want to, buy this house. And that doesn't mean that you have to eventually buy that house or you have to create that company to that revenue. It gives you the ability to now move in a certain direction. And so what I always say is, if you get to the top of if you're out west skiing or you're out west snowboarding and you get to the top of the mountain, now your goal is to get back down to the chalet eventually. You might take a very different route than somebody else. And halfway down the mountain, if you live in Wisconsin, there's only one way down. It's all hills out here. But if you're out in the mountains, there's 40 different ways that you can get down. And so, what a vision does is it creates that end picture. And when you're deep within the forest, you're deep within the trees, you're deep within the snow, it allows you to now, have a mental clarity of your end destination or that next destination that you need to move into. And so for me, what I've seen is individuals that, have created successful companies, they've been able to create compelling visions and evolve them over time.
So I believe that success leaves clues, and one of those clues are the books and authors that successful people have read. So what are some authors that have influenced you in your business?
So one of the first books that I, really, really enjoyed and read, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, is I said, I didn't really like reading in high school or in college, but then I realized it was because I was reading a lot of, textbooks that weren't necessarily, it's not that I didn't like them, but they weren't as enjoyable. And then I started reading, personal development and success books. And then it was sort of this weird, for me, it was this weird, time in my life where I kind of felt like, man, I shouldn't be liking reading, but I actually really do like this. And that was really when I discovered, for me, the first author that really, jumped out at me and helped me connect a lot of dots that I was thinking was Darren Hardy, and The Compound Effect. And so to me, what that did is it just simplified the approach to success. And so those were principles I had always learned, but I had never read them in a sequential format where I was able to now, realize, okay, like these are actual laws that are in place that I can follow. And so when I found that, I realized that, there's so much power in the day-to-day, the day-to-day tasks that we do, the day-to-day habits that we do. So that was really number one. Another author and book that I absolutely love, which is a very dense book, is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. And so what that's, done is I just think it takes a really good approach to, building something from the inside out, and helping individuals really look internally and develop character and look at themselves in a mirror and say, okay, how do I view life? Like, where are some of my gaps? So that's the second big book. And then, one of the ones that I refer to a lot of individuals is, I love a lot of stuff by Robert Kiyosaki, because he just breaks things down in a very elementary way that allows people to understand the different ways to create income in this world. Because if someone's creating a side hustle, they should identify, if someone's familiar with the cash flow quadrant, which quadrant they're in, which quadrant they're looking to get in, what they value by the quadrant that they're in.
Yeah, those are great recommendations, Peter. Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, is really good
Mhm.
because you're right. In reference, he's giving great strategies to be able to change some of the habits. Some of the things we were talking about earlier about developing strong habits, he provides some of those solutions in that book. And of course, Seven Habits is a great book in reference to giving more clarity. And you're right. And Robert Kiyosaki's book in reference to understanding the breakdown between that employee and entrepreneur, the difference in those quadrants. So thank you for sharing those.
Absolutely.
So what does the future hold for you? Are you working in any special projects?
Yeah, for me, it's been the same ventures. It's been the e-commerce, venture that I've been building out for the last, 5-6 years. And so, as I continue to scale that out and build out that, organization and mentorship team, the future will hold additional projects for me. And so, I think for me, it's always been about, being 26 years of age, having several different irons in the fire. And there's no one major passion project that I'm working on right now. I know that will come. But for me, what the future holds is just continuing to provide a platform and provide an arena for folks that were like me. And, that was, 19 years of age, wondering, okay, confused as to what the heck I wanted to do with my life. Not that you need to have it figured out at 19 or 26 or 38 or, 84. It's about having being able to help individuals craft that vision and, pointing them in the right direction and being a resource if things, do match, in the way that I operate and my organization operates. So, for me, that's really my main walk right now. In terms of, building out my ventures and having a ton of fun in the process, because I think, if somebody's doing something and, they're building something and, obviously there's hard days or harder days, but if someone's not having a ton of fun in the process and feeling like they're learning and growing, I just question what the point of all of it is, because, I think for me, what I've come to realize is I always loved an arena to compete in. I loved that when it came to athletics. And, for me, I found entrepreneurship to be a full contact sport.
Yeah, I love that. So if our listeners wanted to reach out and connect and learn more about you, Peter, what's the best way for them to be able to connect?
Hands down through LinkedIn. I'm very active on that platform. I can even, I'll get my LinkedIn profile, URL over. And the reason I like that is because it gives individuals a flavor for who I am. And then they can see some of my content. And then it also gives a platform for them to just directly message. And so, if somebody wants to get right in direct touch, they can just reach out. And I think I was listening to a past podcast. And what I challenge everybody to do is, whether it's me or whether it's another guest on Warren's podcast that you really resonate with, that you really connect with, don't let fear hold you back from reaching out to them, or even Warren himself, and connecting and getting in touch. Because, I think, for a lot of individuals, it can feel fairly intimidating to do so. But LinkedIn is hands down the best way to get in touch with me.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, I'll definitely make sure, Peter, that link, your LinkedIn profile, is in the show notes.
Appreciate it.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Peter, for sharing your strategies and tips, helping our listeners to break through their obstacles to achieve success.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Warren.
Yeah, Peter, I really enjoyed our conversation as well. Well, until next time, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying, be resilient,